we need to talk about the year 2026. Because right now, all the signs are pointing to it being a year unlike any other for India. A super powerful weather event called a super El Nino is on its way back, and scientists are warning that it could unleash the most extreme heat in our recorded history. So let's unpack what's really coming.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at a ghost from the past to see this thing's true power. Then we'll get into the science of El Nino. We'll see why 2026 is a uniquely dangerous combination of factors and how that creates a four-layer crisis for India. We'll also explore the real human cost of it all. And most importantly, we'll finish with what we can actually do about it, starting today. You know, to really get a handle on the threat we're facing in 2026, we actually have to jump in a time machine. We need to go way back to a global catastrophe that was triggered by the exact same phenomenon. This year, 1877, it holds a really critical warning for us today. It's the story of how a quiet disturbance, something that started in just a small patch of the Pacific Ocean, ended up unleashing hell across the entire planet. And I mean, just look at the scale of this. This was not a regional disaster. The Super El Nino of 1877 triggered massive, catastrophic famines on multiple continents, all at the same time. We're talking tens of millions of people dead, from India and China all the way over to Brazil. So what is this thing? This unbelievably powerful natural force? How can a little change in ocean temperature off the coast of South America cause this much chaos around the world? Let's break down the science. It all kicks off with these things called the trade winds. You can think of them as these huge rivers of air that are constantly flowing. They're basically the engine of the Pacific Ocean, always pushing air and water across the biggest ocean on Earth. So when things are working normally, these winds act like a giant conveyor belt. They push all the warm water on the surface of the Pacific over to the west, towards Asia. This allows the cooler water from deep in the ocean to rise up along the coast of South America. It's a stable system that creates reliable weather. But then El Nino happens, and that engine just stalls. The trade winds get weak, and that whole conveyor belt system breaks down. That massive pool of warm water sloshes all the way back across the Pacific, and it releases so much heat into the air that it completely rewrites the weather patterns for the entire globe. Okay, so we've got the history, we've got the science, but how does this all add up to such a huge threat for 2026? Because this isn't just another El Nino cycle. This time, it's colliding with another, even more powerful force. You know, we actually saw a super El Nino pretty recently, back in 2015, and it was bad. It caused one of India's deadliest heat waves and a major drought. But the one that's predicted for 2026, well, it's not just that it's strong. It's that it's arriving on a planet that is already fundamentally warmer than it was in 2015. And here's the crucial difference. Thanks to climate change, our planet's baseline temperature, its starting point, is already about 1.4 degrees Celsius warmer. We are starting from a much, much hotter place. Okay, now on top of that, you add the El Nino effect. A strong one can temporarily add up to another 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming right on top of that already hotter baseline. And here is the terrifying math. When you combine those two, we are staring down a potential global temperature spike of nearly 3 degrees Celsius. To be clear, that is a level of heat that modern human civilization has never, ever experienced. So what does a number like that actually mean for India, for people on the ground? Well, the impact isn't just one thing. It's more like a cascading crisis that hits in 4 critical layers, all at once. It all starts with the monsoon getting disrupted, which, of course, leads directly to agricultural failure, since more than half of India's farms depend on that rain. Then, on top of that, you get these extreme heat waves, which are expected to shatter all the previous records. And all of that combines to create a severe economic strain, with food prices potentially jumping by more than 9%. But, you know, behind all of these forecasts and statistics and charts, that's where the real story is. The devastating human cost. This isn't just about some uncomfortable weather. This is a genuine life or death threat, especially for the most vulnerable among us. One of the biggest hidden killers in all of this is the rise in nighttime temperatures. I mean, look at Delhi. The nights there are actually warming up more than twice as fast as the days. And when your body can't cool down and recover at night, the risk of a deadly heat stroke goes up dramatically. And the tragic, heartbreaking reality is that India is already on the absolute front lines of this crisis. A staggering 1 out of every 5 people who die from a heat wave anywhere in the world is an Indian.
But here's the thing, even that horrifying statistic is a massive, massive undercount. Death certificates almost never list heat as the cause of death. Doctors will write down cardiac arrest or organ failure, but the trigger, the extreme heat that pushed the body past its breaking point, it just goes unrecorded. And that means the true scale of this emergency is hidden.
Now, I know this is an alarming picture. It's bleak, but it is not hopeless. The one good thing about this prediction is that it's a warning. It gives us time to act. And there are clear, tangible steps we can take right now, as communities and as individuals, to get ready.
You know, one of the most powerful and honestly simplest solutions is right in front of us: trees. A good tree canopy can cool down a street by as much as 12 degrees Celsius. It's incredible. Yet, for every 1 square kilometer of new trees we plant, we're cutting down 18 square kilometers of vital old forests. So, the takeaway here is clear. We have to start by protecting what we already have. Save those existing old trees. And on a human level, we can do simple things. Offer water to delivery workers, demand that heat waves get recognized as the official disasters they are, and take basic precautions, like keeping oral rehydration salts handy. We can also make a huge difference together by tackling the root cause. A huge chunk of our electricity still comes from burning coal. But by switching to solar panels on our own rooftops or balconies, which are now cheaper and easier to get than ever before, we can reduce our reliance on the grid, save some money, and help cool the planet. Because let's be honest, this super El Niño won't be the last one. These events are just going to keep coming back, and each time they'll be happening on a hotter and hotter planet. For the kids born in 2026, a 45-degree summer might just be their normal. And that leaves us with one final, really urgent question. When they grow up and ask us about it,